And here we go. Okay, cool. Hey, everybody. How are you? Welcome to Spiritually Raw. And as always, thank you very much for hanging out with us as you always do. We hope you woke to the most miracle morning and are also having the most fortunate day today. Our good fortune. Wow.
Look who is back.
Right there. Do I even have to say anything more? Should I even do a show? You know what I mean? Should we even do anything more? You already got the vibe of this. My dear soul brother here, Darren here, aka Mr. Trumptastic. We have known him for several years, and he is just really very pragmatically been fighting the good fight for people, and really just the way he talks about it, the way he interprets and communicates things for all of you out there that, I mean, take a look at the title there, what he's going to be talking about. But, for the way he talks about it, it's just a very refreshing approach. Okay. It's really, really well thought out and well communicated. So we wanted to bring you back on, and it was really great, man, to get that surprise reach out from you last week. It was a real honor, and it was good. It was good to reconnect with you. So I'm glad you're here again.
We're so glad that you reached out because, with all the YouTube antics, we've lost, you probably lost us, we lost you. And there's lots of other people that, kind of like, they feel like they vanished because you don't see it on the scrolling, right? Because you constantly have to be hitting the subscribe, wink, 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 everybody. So make sure to do that for Mr. Trumptastic's channel and our channel, because we have to play these antics games. So it's so great to see you back, and we're so happy that you've been able to navigate through all the social media BS, and you're rising above. You have multiple channels, and we have so much to talk to you about today.
And all his links are in the description below. And wow, look how good you look, brother. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me on. As always, it's great to reconnect again. And like you said, a lot of our brothers and sisters have, gone by the wayside with regards to the censorship and all that. But I was able to kind of be in the game, created multiple channels, and every time they knock me off, I print another one, just like the Federal Reserve prints money, right? So I'm using everything of their tactics back, and so I just continue to try to. I'm trying to get everybody to the finish line. That's always been my primary focus from the beginning. Nowhere in my life did I think it was going to take this long, but I understand the process, and so I'm here to do whatever it takes to get us there. And I think that we're fast approaching with all the stuff that's pouring out. So it's really good.
What's interesting about you, and I knew this from a couple of years ago, which is what we were very attracted to having this conversation with you back then, and also now, is that, again, like I mentioned earlier, you're a very pragmatic approach towards how you're approaching things. You are a business professional. I mean, you have clients, you have people that you consult with. I mean, this is not just some guy just shooting out rhetoric and his feelings and emotions and wearing them on a whiteboard. I mean, you're really in it. You're in the depths of this. You're actually witnessing this. What I do want to ask you is, before we get into what you're seeing now, or what your temperature gauge is,
a hedge fund manager.
But what your temperature gauge is now is, what do you think 2 years ago, entering into this whole thing, looking back to going into where we're now? What do you think is a community, if you would, as far as delivering this kind of message? Do you think that things could have been done differently? Do you think they were the way they were supposed to be? What do you think?
Yeah, my understanding, we're hearing from various research that I've done, is that we're essentially, on this timeline that's going by script. And so, there have been hiccups and there have been delays, because my understanding is that this thing was supposed to end in August of last year. And one way or another, the timeline has been extended. Maybe the sheeple hasn't woke up enough. Maybe the dumbs have not been cleaned up enough. There's a lot of different things that we all know about. And so, I guess the target or the destination is very clear, and there's nothing can stop what's coming, right? That's what they've always said, and we're starting to see everything unfold. So it's a very exciting time right now to be in this situation where
it's so exciting. Yes.
Mr. Trumptastic. So when January of a year ago came around and came and went, and wow, that didn't happen, what was your initial thought? And how did you react? And then where did you pivot there? Was there a sense of you that said, I'm out, or boom, this is exactly how it's supposed to be? Where were you at with all that?
Well, essentially that day was a dark day for, I think, all of us, if you've been in this movement. Yeah, I mean, I just looked at it like, I processed it. I didn't want to, come to the channel and essentially throw up on the channel. I just wanted to assess what was said and what was the comms. And once you saw the Brandon's inauguration, you could see everything that was not. It wasn't what it was, right? So it's there were so many comms in there, and the weather there was perfect. And then in DC that day it was raining, so we already from that already knew that okay, it's a movie pantomime show like they've always said. And my hope was that it would be ending a few months from there, but obviously we're looking at a year and a half towards that timeline. But right now, I think ever since February, they said it's gonna come in more or less a tidal wave, and it is coming out. It's pouring out left and right, so we're starting to see everything happen. Again, I wish it would have happened a little faster, but the sense that every day that we're inching towards it, it's I can't be a complainer, just be a supporter at this point, So,
that is very well said. I like that a lot.
So anyway, hey everybody, thanks again for jumping on and hanging out. If you're watching this and if you're watching this channel for the first time, kindly hit the subscribe button, like and share. You know how it works. It helps out the whole YouTube universe,
social media universe.
Our good brother Darren's links in the scrolling there. You can check him out there, YouTube, Mr. Trumptastic. So do check him out. He's got some fantastic stuff there. Let's dive right if we can with you. Okay, I want to get your view on some events. So Elon Musk. Okay, what's actually going on there? There's a big push on that. Is he taking it back for us, or is there just a different agenda there going on?
Yeah. So Elon Musk, my understanding is he was a gray hat before, so he was working more or less with the DS to a certain extent, obviously because they've been in control, right? So he has a lot of monies and stuff, and he's a successful guy. My understanding he's really from off planet, but aside from that, his purchase of Twitter was instrumental because we all know the famous tweet, "My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us," right? So that's going to come from that platform, and in what way, how this thing works out, we don't know. But him acquiring it means that he's working now with the White Hats. That means he's flipped. And I kind of had that intuition back and looking at his comms, and just if they wanted him to be expose him, they would have done so in the past. So now,
that's a very good point, Mr.
Yeah. So I think he's working with them, and now it's just it's kind of a movie script that, we're going to see how this all unfolds, and we're going to see finally that tweet, and then things are going to start to, this end of this epic movie is going to be, it's going to kind of relay out very, very soon.
It's interesting. I have two things about the Twitter. First, though, every month since, we went down with the Twitter whole escapade, once a month I'll go and I try to reapply, and I get shut down right away. I mean, I send out the what is it called, like a when you
play for help,
yeah, whatever you want to call that, and it usually comes back within 60 seconds, deny, but I keep sending it. Ironically, I did it this week, Mr. Trumptastic, and I did not get denied, which is a first. They actually said, "We're considering it, and if you have anything else to add to my first plea, to add it." So I did. So I'm in limbo right now, which is great. We've never gotten this far ever. So I thought this was even before the Elon Musk. It was a couple days before that. So I am very anxious to see, where we go with that. But I heard something this morning, and I thought this was really, really opened my eyes up too. Not only and I'm not saying I'm a fan of Elon Musk one way or the other, because, I'm kind of still on the fence, but this did make me feel a little bit better, because they said, it's not only that he purchased Twitter, but he purchased evidence.
Okay.
Because all of the stuff that was on all the feeds that were on Twitter, he now owns all of that material. So, and there is a tremendous amount of evidence on the Twitter feeds.
No, I think that's correct. I think once he takes it over, because they have everything, right? And so he's he's controlled in a lot of sense by the White Hats. So once they take it over, they have a mountain of evidence, but this is just cherry on the top, I believe. And then they're going to relay it where the sheep can kind of understand it. because we already know intuitively what's really going on here. But it's gonna come out, and the sooner the better, as I always say. But it has a process because they don't want to cause havoc, and it's always done in the right way. And so just have to be really patient. I've bit my tongue so many times in this reveal, but they're doing it the right way, and we're in the least death timeline with the least havoc. So I understand that.
You mentioned timelines a couple of times there. So your spiritual side of yourself is looking at this as like a movie, if you would. So is that literally how you do personally look at this? Hey, we're just in sort of is it like some sort of simulation, some sort of game, and we just work through it, and the less because your demeanor doesn't change.
No.
And I don't notice that about you. And so is that how you kind of handle an approach to this? Is just kind of like, hey, let's go for the ride and enjoy this, versus resisting it and feeling like what's your way of just kind of emotionally being very stoic throughout this whole process?
Well, it's like I'm human, so obviously I take it offline, and I always say I feel it to heal it, and so I don't bring it to the channel. I don't bring it to the platforms. I take it to my own room. It's like little kids, you scream and cry like a little baby, get it all out. And then once you get it out, I mean, you feel like you're reset again, right? So that's a process with this movement, because it tests every single part of your patience, I always say testicle fortitude, but it's just, you have to have guts, and you have to, kind of, hold strong. And so that comes to my spiritual side, though. At the end of the day, it's knowing that I don't want to bring down the collective, so I need to take this privately, process it, and then when I come back, I need to maintain my centeredness, and that's what I try to convey to people. And this is where I'm talking with several truthers and other truthers, and their connections with people up in higher military chains and all that, and that's what they want to do. They want the people to get to the point where they have their sovereignty, and spiritually too, not just as financially and all that. They want people to be able to think critically for themselves, and to be in this state where we're going, right? That's where we're going, into this 5D world. It's more of I'm not sure if it's a training, but it's to weed out the people that have to or going to extend, and we're going to be the leaders in this going into it.
Yes, Vicky, you are absolutely 100%. Mr. Trumptastic is in. Perfect.
These revalues, prosperity packages, legitimate things happening right now? Are they legitimate things, and are they really in our vicinity, or they're just for the select few?
No, I think this is where this pyramid of the I always say Illuminati dickwads, but that's going to be flipped, and it's going to be flipped to the other side, right? So that pyramid is going to be where we're at the top of the food chain, and so in that process, obviously, there's going to be a reset of the financial system, and the people at the bottom of the current pyramid are going to experience great wealth. And with that great wealth comes great responsibility. And what that means is, humanitarian projects. It means to help your fellow man. It means to do everything that this matrix has not done. It flips it to the other side. So all my research regarding the RV, it's relayed back to the Kuwaiti dinar when that was revalued. So I studied that a lot. But then I also studied, what is this reset about? And of course, 45 and Alliance, Galactic Federation, all of the spiritual side of the benevolent side wants the people who are part of this movement are the star seeds to take us into this new world, right? So we have to reward them. We have to be rewarded for this battle, and look at it as 0.1% that's really involved in this RV. So you think about it,
right?
The greatest wealth is transfers coming, and they're giving it to the right people, and that's where 1745 and the beings they know what's going on, and so that it's just amazing to be a part of it. And yes, this is a reset, not only of the financial system, but it's a reset of our spirituality in a lot of ways.
Very, very true. From your perspective, does it matter who's in DC. Does that have anything to do with this currency revalue?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, well, phases of Nasara, Jasara has already been implemented. I think it's been already ongoing for almost a year and a half, because we're starting to, a lot of my subscribers and truthers that I know, when I talk to them, they've already experienced debt forgiveness, randomly. So whether it's testing the system or not, that's forthcoming. And so, but my understanding is that when 45 comes back, he has to come back to a restored republic. So a lot of that's why it's been extended, because they're taking down this the system or the matrix, and you just can't take it over with a snap of a finger. They've been in control for thousands of years. So there's a process to it. And so that's what we're going through. We're going through a process to take it down. But my understanding is this reset is very, very close. They've already kind of done everything, and now we're waiting for, because all of the levels have to submit KYC information, which is know your customer. So they have to give background information and all that. It's been updated on all the food chains on the bond side, which means that they're just right now. Everybody's waiting for a trigger event, and that trigger event, yeah, that's what we're waiting for.
Do you, from your perspective, do you have any idea? Like, what do you, excuse me, personally think that trigger event would be?
So, yeah, they've been kind of keeping us in the dark. But I kind of, if you connect the dotted lines, this World War III, fake World War III scenario, I think is probably the more or less reasonable scenario that's going to happen. But all the stuff that I've been seeing, North Korea, you have Taiwan, China, you obviously have Ukraine, Russia, you have even the Middle East too. You have Israel with Iran, the typical countries that are involved in the conflict, and they're heightening to say that they're going to get access to nuclear weapons, and all this stuff is coming out. So that's the most likely scenario. But there's also news scattered here and there about this extinction level event, asteroid comet hitting the Earth. That may be one. And then also with the UFO disclosures and all that, the alien invasion, right? So there's so many different ways, and the White Hats have access to Blue Beam, or they have technology. They can show it to the the sheeple, like they can reverse it and show like the 9/11 stuff that the DS did, but they also have privy. I think they have privy to technologies way in advance, but because of the Prime Directive and there's a lot of rules that they have to follow, that they haven't unleashed it, but they probably can unleash it in this, because they need to shake the sheep up. They need to wake them up still, because there's still double masking here. And but I'm starting to see, when I went to a couple of sporting events over the last few weeks, like around 80-90% of it weren't wearing it. So it's like, okay, maybe they're getting it, but maybe they had a few, and then what I'm saying, they kind of forget about it. But
you're
you're in the West Coast, so that's more predominant for you. I want to ask you from a personal level, because you're in a white collar industry, is what you do, like there. So how do your peers think about your views of all this, and you talking about this from the because you're on that side of what everybody feels like they need to get away, or we need to restructure. You're actually in it, perception wise anyway. What do your peers say to you about what you're doing here?
Well, I mean, I really don't discuss it with them. I only discuss it with one of my really close friends now. He actually was woke before I was, because he follows the alternative media space. He's done that for almost over a decade. And he said everything that happens in the alternative media happens in the mainstream. So he told me from the beginning, Fox News is controlled. And I was like, really? And so, but once I woke up, everything made sense to me. And then I told him about Nasar Jasara, and he was like, wow, that's the last remaining piece that I couldn't place. So I kind of fit the puzzle for him. And the rest of the other stuff I learned through obviously researching and stuff. So, but it's pretty rare, or I mean, it's not, I can say rare, but in my institution, they tried to enforce the Jabberdo mandate, and so I got the religious exemption. Obviously, I did a lot of research on that and responded to it, and I was prepared to walk away and do what I was going to do.
Religious exemption.
Yeah. I that's what I did, and obviously there were a lot of research and from other truthers, right? So when I filled out the form, I knew kind of what to say, and I was more than prepared to walk away and, get legal counsel, right?
Yeah.
So, but it didn't work out because I was one of the top producers I've been for the last 2 or 3 years at the banks, and they're gonna, kind of leave me be, and so I'm able still to work from home.
Great.
With my networking and stuff, I can still do it locally, but I don't have to go into the office, which is actually good, because I don't really want to return to the matrix. I want to connect with like-minded folks like yourself in every walk of life, and that's what I've been trying to do.
When you take a look at like how we're moving forward here, so I want to ask your opinion of this. So I think inherently as human beings, we have our faith that keeps us going. We have the promise of hope that keeps us going. So that's one thing. Is it wise for dates and rates to be put out in this thing? Does it seem almost like a little bit like, hey, you know what, if someone's throwing out rates and dates, I mean, is that almost like a dark side kind of thing like that that's trying to take us off our game? So there's one part of it, meaning that, okay, look, let's all acknowledge that for the most part, everybody at least here chatting, watching this right now, saying this is going to happen. When a date and rate gets thrown in, is that a diversion of sorts from your opinion and your experience?
You make a great point. And as I first got into it, I was excited, right? Wow, this can happen. And then now as it extends, I understand what the whole premise of this reset is. It's really to flip that pyramid. It's really to do, this thing is spiritual. So, when it's always about great wealth becomes great responsibility. And so that's where I stop focusing on rates. Whatever it is, we're going to be in abundance. Okay. So whatever you have, you're not going to have to worry about generations about monies, and monies are going to be phased out anyways over the course of time. We're going to be access to all these technologies, free energy devices, med beds, treatments and stuff and cures and all that. So that's really what we want. We want to be able to really pursue our own dreams and
a better life.
And not have to worry about, bills and we can connect with our families and, with nature. I really want to go to the beach. I'd rather be at the beach right now, or sinking my feet in with the ground and with the grass and all these things that I've learned from, the opposite side of what I've been living. But my intuitive side was always connected to that, because when I was young, I always wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted planets. I wanted to go explore. And that part of me was was phased out as I got, plug, the matrix as it continues and all that, but it's never left me. So I think that's the spiritual side, why none of this makes, it's not shocking to me in any way. And I think when the reveal comes out, I won't be shocked about anything going forward.
That's pretty much true. When whatever the it is, we're definitely not going to be like, oh my God, it's going to be like, oh, this is what it was. Okay, good. Let's do this now and move on. Right. Now that it's happened, it's here. Let's get to the next stage, and let's get to the next stage as quick as possible.
I love your, the spiritual side of how you talk, obviously spiritually raw, right? So it ties into what we do for our gig, our day job, right? But I love the fact that you're actually, really tying this all in as like, hey, like this is kind of like in your mind, this is kind of like we're pretty much we got this, is how I'm interpreting it. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but we got this. It's done. We just got to go through these things, and the better we learn how to react to it, the quicker it will show its head. Is that a fair assumption to say it that way?
No, you're right. You're exactly right. Because when I got into this movement in comparison to that time frame as to the time frame right now, it's that I've matured in a lot of ways from it. I'm not jumping to the first date and all that. It's not date driven, it's event driven. So when we start to see these things happen and it's like a domino, boom, one goes down, another goes down, and now it's kind of like it's really starting to fall down quite quickly. But I understand the process of what they did, because the vast majority of our comrades are still asleep. That's the facts at the end of the day. And much as they feel for us, we as a collective whole, we have to wait for them. In the process, and during that time, you have to from my Buddhist ways is always to live in the present moment. You can't live in the future. You can't live in the past. You'll suffer. So you have to live in the present moment. But of course, you look out a little bit out, and you already know what we already know what the destination is. That's the great thing. We know the script. We already got the movie already. We already know where we're going. It's just, how is it going to go and what time frame? And obviously, we always have questions. That's our logical side of it. But intuitively, and that's where I connected a lot more to my intuitive side. The spiritual side is to have patience, is with my loved ones, and they're indoctrinated. So I just spent time with my kids recently, and it's all about the kids at the end of the day for me. And I just lived in that moment. It's like just aside, just it was great being with them. It's just I wish I can share what I share. So
it's really ours to mess it up, isn't it? It's really ours to screw it up.
Yeah, no, and I think that's where I try to convey to everyone is that just don't be date driven, just be event driven. And I'm not complaining now because we're seeing everything happen in full in front of our eyes, not in the time frame I always say, but it's happening, and most people are like, okay, wow. So it's they're seeing it, and it's just a matter. It's a process, and so when we get to the end of it, when things pop off and all that, we're going to forget we're certainly not going to forget it. We're going to appreciate it, and we can talk about the journey. That's
the journey. The journey that got there.
Real quick. Yeah. Okay. So, we live in Florida with the best governor.
Yeah.
Awesome. And just making huge strides in so many avenues between the children and the school system and everything. I know you'd love to see 45 back in, but what's your thought about Ron DeSantis?
Well, I think he's been phenomenal, and he's setting a precedent for everything. And I think he's likely working with the White Hats behind the scenes. So maybe he's going to be the in terms of going forward, possible VP or the president candidate. We'll have to wait and see how it all pans out, because everything's going to change once the military takes it over and kind of resets the system, and not just from a financial perspective, but also legally, everything is going to change. And so, but DeSantis is absolutely going to be at the top of the, where everybody knows what he's done. And I think he's just working with them. So it'll be probably his choice, because 45 can't be there forever, right? My understanding, he may have a different role. Maybe he has a king or some kind of role like that. And then maybe the Prince JFK becomes president, and then DeSantis becomes VP. Who knows? But I think he doesn't have to worry about his political career, because I think it's probably one way or the other, his ascension to going to where he wants to go it's going to be up to him. So, but he's been phenomenal.
What's so interesting is everybody's, you have to learn to, what we've learned. We were talking about what we've learned over these last several years is that you have to learn that everybody's got their stream of consciousness. You know what I mean? So what they could see is actually, whether people see it or not see it, does not necessarily mean it's not real, because that really could be related to them and what those galactic powers are showing them, or brethren are showing them. So that's an interesting thought that, these things can play out. I want to get with you on your opinion of in being in depth in the financial market. How important are going to be cryptos for us moving forward? How important is that digital currency is as part of that? Is that a fad? Is that a DS kind of thing like that? Or is it a real, like, hey, if you don't know it, get your shit together and figure it out?
Well, I think, the system that we're going into, so everybody will be, it's going to be an abundant system. So we're not going to see poverty and all that. So everybody won't have to worry about making their basic, needs, right? Because the system will provide that to them. But if you want to be in a sense that where you can be in a position where you can be helping people, humanitarian efforts and stuff like that, I do believe cryptos is going to be huge in that process. The ISO, 2022 coins, my understanding is that they're all asset backed. XRP, XLM is what I've heard is the primary two. XRP is more the gold. XLM is more of the silver. There's also different palladiums and platinums and a bunch of different ones that we know of. And I'm not one to think that Bitcoin and Ether is going to be just immediately taken to zero. I think the white hats, they do things in a way where there's least disruptions, because a lot of people own Bitcoin, right? A lot of the sheeple, and it's being adopted in not only South America, it was recently adopted in Africa as legal tender. So all of a sudden, because that's an alternative to the United States dollar, which is being crashed. So why would you put that to zero? That would be mass havoc to the people. All of a sudden, like, what? That's not it. I put my money into, so I think there'll be a transition to it. I think Bitcoin, Ether, I think it's going to be a transition coin. It's a phase out of the cabal system. Maybe they'll, for per X amount of Bitcoin, will be transferred into XRP. I could see that happening. But my viewpoint from just watching everything is they don't do it or they want to make people go mad. They're doing it in a way where it's steps, patience. It's just subtle, and yet I understand there's gonna be a flood of it towards the end, but they just do it in a way where it's not going to bring fear, panic, and all that. They just do it in the right way. So that's my take on it, but it can go a totally different way. I'm prepared for any way. So bring it on.
So for those of you just again tuning in right now, jumping in, again, when this will obviously be here. So
hit the like button.
Hit the like button, share, subscribe. Mr. Trumptastic's information on there. If you haven't seen him already, do visit his channel. He's got some great stuff. You're already obviously digging the way he's talking. He's got a really cool approach towards this. Gold and silver in its physical form, its purest form. Your opinion, and I know it seems maybe obvious to people. How important is that for us to be able to have a good amount of that, number one? Number two, follow-up question, if you can roll with this, is the banking fear of like, hey, should I leave my money in the bank system, or should I be leaving just enough to pay my bills? Can you speak to that for us?
Sure. Precious metals, I think, is the most safest and the best way to go, because it's tangible, right? You could feel it, you can get it. And so we all know that we're going to an asset-backed system. The primary assets in that system is going to be gold and silver. So I think, not a financial advisor, but if I was going to do anything first, it would be to get a bucket of precious metals physical in your possession first. And then if you get a good amount, then you can put it onto a depository. And so that's the approach that I've had going in. Cryptocurrencies obviously are more speculative, but the cryptocurrencies are going to be the primary bridge currency in the system, where they're not tangible per se, but they're going to, if you want to bring the US dollar to the Japanese yen, there's got to be a bridge, and that's what it is. And both US dollar, or it's going to be US note, and the Japanese yen will be backed by assets, right? So it's indirectly backed by precious metals. So that's that concept. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but aren't there like 210 countries already that are gold backed?
Yeah, it's gold. It's gold or asset backed. So some countries don't have gold, so what they'll bring is silver, or they'll bring copper, or they'll bring diamonds, or let's say they have oil. They'll bring whatever they can bring. What's great about this is a level playing field, because I know Zimbabwe is probably the most richest country in the world, and they have been so suppressed by the DS. And so when they get what they're supposed to get, people there are going to be running back home because they have everything there. And so 45 is giving back all the countries and the people their sovereignty back. And so America has always been the place to kind of everyone ran to pursue their dreams, but now they're going to be able to go back to their countries and rebuild it, right? And so that's part of this whole reset. It's a spiritual, again, it comes down to people being proud of their countries, their where their origins.
That, from all of the interviews that we have done, honest to God, you are the first person that referred to the reset, not in a financial terms, as in a spiritual term, a spiritual connotation. Even though we think, we're ascending and we're in the Great Awakening and so forth and so on. But I think you really nailed it when you said we're flipping the pyramid. And this reset, if they get nothing out of this entire conversation, if they take that one nugget, that the reset is about a spiritual reset, because that shifts everything. That's how we create the Great Awakening. That's how we create the financial reset. You have to have a spiritual reset first. And I think that's great that you said that.
Yeah, you're vibrating. What's your thoughts on? Okay, so before I go there, real quick, so would it be like, for example, $1 would be worth like 1 yen? Is that the goal of this whole thing? So they match up chronologically, if you would.
Yeah, after the reset, they'll be on a level playing field. So before that, obviously they're depressed, right? So they're going to be. That's why you want to be positioned in the ones that we know: the dinar, dong, zim, rupiah, Venezuelan bolivar. There's a bunch of depressed currencies. If you do the research, just buy a little bit of them, and you should be positioned quite well when this RV happens.
What do you think about the amount of, getting back to this? And I know we've been throwing a lot at you, so thanks for fielding it. What do you think about the amount of money people should be leaving in their banks? Is that something that people should? Are we on the verge? Could we have a bail in of sorts, if you would? Are we in? Is that?
Are we in that window?
Yeah, are we in that window, or that those whatever temperature gauges, if you would? Is that possible where we're at? Or
yeah, my understanding is that, I mean, because we're watching a movie at the end of the day, so that may happen where there's bail-ins and stuff, and people. But if that happens, I think we're going to see a civil war. People are not. They're going to be to the point where, hey, you've already, I'm paying so much in food. I've lost my job. I've taken to the precipice. I'm sick with taking the jabs. Now my house, when this crash happens, it's down 50%. Like, I don't have anything. 401k is gone because the stock market's crashed. So they have to show the eyes of what the DS NWO was going to show us through this reset. To what extent the whites of the eyes of it, right? They have to show the sheeple. And then they're going to pull the plug and do the EBS timeout, baby. And they're going to tell everybody, hey, this is what's really going on. And so then they're going to bring in the Nasara, reset the system. And then people are going to finally be, wow, but they have to show it because they don't want this to happen again, the military. They're, and I understand that, because if they were to save us, you have to save yourself. Okay, that's the first and foremost. They have to wake up to what's really going on. And it's a process. But in terms of having your monies in the bank, I think it's already been backed up by the QFS. I think it's safe. Now, they may show it in the movie, this and that. I'm not moving it. I already have, what I have in the bank and stock market, and I've already diversified and hedged everything. So for me, I'm leaving it. I don't care whatever happens. But other people, that's why you should diversify into precious metals. If you have that, it's going to offset whatever you're going to lose in the bank, right? So, but if you only have a savings or whatever you have in the bank, my understanding is everything has been mirrored into the QFS already, and we'll, essentially, we'll be okay. That's that if you intuitively, spiritually, we know that we already know the script and destination. So therefore, I don't try not to get caught up in the everyday things, right? So,
well, that makes me feel a lot better. Thank you for that little lift.
All right, so here is something that a lot of people are experiencing right now. Okay, so great value on housing, but when they sell it, there's nowhere to go because there's no great deals on housing. So it's like almost like it's like everybody's in like a double-edged sword experience right now. Would you say yes to that?
It was 100%. So, people are like, well, I mean, it's profit. And then, so you're going to rent is just skyrocketing because they're showing what would have happened if this timeline went in the NWO control. They have to show the people the nefarious agenda. And that's to wake them up. I mean, and so, yeah, if you sell it, then where are you going to go? The house of this is going to be multiple more. You're not going to be able to afford any of this stuff. And then the constraints of their cash flow is being taken away from inflation. And it's being taken away from right now where it's a process where the stock market's being crashed. It's so many things going on where they're like, well, wait a minute, we can't really, do that. Even though we made so much money here, they're kind of, stuck a rock in a hard place. The thing is to just hold the line and just wait till these things happen. And then the destination is the main thing that we know the script. I know it's tough living day by day, just look at little things that'll make you happy. Because we already know the destination. So that part of it is, sorry about that. I should have shut this thing off here, but yeah, so we already know that.
Yeah. So, okay. 2 things. We have, I don't even know how much it is like now, the debt clock, 46 trillion, something so obscene. You can't even just wrap your mind around it. That's number one. I want, from a reset point of view, would they really literally just reset it back to zero? That's number one. And then in terms of the housing market, I don't think anyone can deny right now, we are sitting at the pinnacle of something has got to burst. Like it cannot sustain this any longer. Do you think, from your perspective, that are we at the turning point of the housing market starting to come down yet?
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not sustainable, and we know back in 08 where they were you can get all this free money because everything was exploding, and you need to do any income verifications at the bank. I was like, this is insane, right? It's not sustainable, right? Ultimately, and so that you're exactly right. It's not sustainable, and so it just like the stock market right now with all the negative inflationary and yet the stock market is held to this certain placeholder. It just trades in this range, and it's being traded there. I think the white hats they don't want to take it all the way down immediately because the DS is also anticipating they're going to short the market, so they anticipate to benefit from it. So they've been grinding them out. So every time DS thinks it's going to go down, the white hats push it up, and so they're just pretty much burning them out. And then once they're marginalized, you're going to just rip the placeholder off. Boom. That's when it's going to happen. But it's a process to it.
I don't want to I want to highlight exactly how you've been communicating with us here today. And it's the fact that you talk in terms of like a movie or, I'm in the game, if you would. I can't stress to everybody watching the importance of that kind of mental view of looking at it, because that's what I've been doing. I've been waking up. I'm like, all right, today I'm going to figure out how to play today's game of chess. You know what I mean? And what are my moves? And that's all it is. And so this way, it really gets me to a point where I'm not reacting to these things like any, without any emotion. You know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is. It's like, okay, cool. How can I find that when I approach it that way, I'm more successful at it because I'm going with the flow of the universe in that way versus just trying to resist it and be like, oh shit, what happened or that happened or that, you know what I mean? So just try that on everybody. Just, gotta go from that, try to give yourself some peace and realize that I think the game I'm working on it, like we all are, is not so much what happens, but how we're going to be able to react to it.
Which is a perfect example. We have Mr. Trumptastic here, right? His name says it all. And we all know what happened, but guess what? He is rising. He rose above all of that. You made it through all the hoopla, the social media hoopla. You've stayed focused with loving your family, and you've stayed focused on your business, despite everything that you thought didn't happen. You didn't fall. You didn't crash. You said, you know what? I'm just, and I'm not going to, 1 day or 2 days, but coach, we were all in mourning, but you shook the dust off and you said, you know what? Nope, not going to go down with this ship. And you pulled your shit up, right? And you marched on. And that's what we all have to do every single solitary day.
Yeah, I want to ask your opinion on this from manifesting this. Okay, so manifesting the global currency, the revalue. So I want to just kind of get your vibe on this. This is what I think. You can give me your opinion on it. Is that we get to, when we manifest things, it's about keeping the vibration, right? It's about getting the vibration, sustaining that. So what happens is when we get these things, and this is where really what I want to say to people that are really wanting this, because we all want it, is that when you hear something that seems a little too obvious, like, maybe Yom Kippur or Ramadan or this or that's going to happen and you're going to get this, everybody's vibrations shoot through the roof, right? And then boom, they crash. And that just messes up the whole system of attracting it, doesn't it? So aren't we like, if we know the obvious, if we can stay away from the obvious, and I know we keep talking about this, but I really, because so many people want it, but if we could stay away from the obvious, is that, from your opinion, doing it from your Buddhist philosophy, from just your way of learning through life? Is that what's happening? Where boom, we're going there, and then boom, we crash it. So we're not the victims here. We're the willing participants in essence, aren't we? In that scenario?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's that's part of the matrix and indoctrination. The wave of emotions, and that's why you have sports games and people go all crazy, this and that. I mean, I go there to have fun. I don't go there to get emotional. I used to before I woke up in a lot of ways, but I just go out to have fun, right? And so you have to wake up every day and have you have to try to remain as much as possible in kind of in the centered mode. You want to be giddy, but you have to be, you have to have some, discretion and discernment. And that's what I think the movement 1745, they always said, to disinformation is necessary. You have to have a way where you marginalize or you offset a lot of the highs and lows. Just take the middle ground, right? But because we already know the destination, the script, we already have that. That means that it's going to be a beautiful situation. But when you're dealing with, you can't pay your bills, you're dealing with, hey, I got kicked out of my home, I can't even pay for my meals, and those are things that, for me, being away from my family, fiance's in another country, I haven't seen her in like over a year now. But we did get our first phase of our application processed, approved, and now she's gonna have an interview soon. So, everything's moving in the right direction. But it's been tough. I'm dealing with things, not financially, but other ways. Everybody's dealing with something, some way, in this movement, and as we go through this movie. But the great thing about it is we already know the end of the script, and 99% of people don't know that. So that should give you something that, hey, why was I chosen to? It's not why, what I have to deal with. It's like you were chosen for a reason. Whatever that, you'll find out. But that's something that's very sacred, in my opinion. It's spiritually connected.
I totally agree.
So, yeah.
Man, I tell you, it's such a beautiful time to be alive right now, and so much to be so excited about, because we're witnessing. Okay, so the things that we can compartmentalize, QFS, revalues, all that stuff, the compartmentalized materialistic things we need in this earth to really have the great existence. But really the exciting part is witnessing the spiritual awakening that's happening. Like the how you say, like the resources available to us now, our chakras opening up, our minds opening up for those who choose.
Telepathy. Our intuition is growing every day.
Our intuition's growing every day. You know what I mean? Just the things like that.
I feel smarter too.
Yeah, I do after talking to him. It's wild, and I think that's beautiful. That is magical. That's like your version of God, goddess, whatever your jam is showing you like, hey, just create it. Like Mr. T saying here, already done. So just kind of play it out how you want to play it out, have it roll out how you want to see it roll out. So it just can be like that. I don't think that's wishful thinking. That's not even airy fairy talking. That's real, and I think more and more people are starting to witness that. Yeah, you've seen it too, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think you hit it right on the dot, and it's a connection that I like, and I say to people that it's more of an honor to be part of it. It's real, but it's difficult. It's really difficult because you're seeing things that no one else can see, but it's because that you've been chosen. You may not know what the reason is, but it's going to be, you're going to see it at the end. And then all these people that did not confide in you are going to come back. And so at that point in time, you could say, hey, I told you so, and this and that, but you have to kind of be above it, right? Just remember the journey. And so you got to be humble from that regard. You have to say, hey, you know what? This is, I'm above that. But of course you can get jabs in here and there because we're all human, right? So,
after that.
It's a beautiful world, everybody, and it really is. And again, I'm so happy that you and I, all of us, reconnected again, and we get to do this here. You know what I mean? This is cool, like the new version of everything. So now we get to we got to take all that in for a couple of years and compartmentalize it, break it down, just whatever. And now we get to kind of like, here you go. This is what it means now. It's a very different version. And and again, we don't do a lot of these shows anymore, but the ones that we do, I'm glad we're doing it with you today. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you so much. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
It's just 100% right back at you, brother. All right, everybody. So thanks for hanging out with us as you always do.
It was so much fun.
So much fun. It's cool. We haven't had these conversations, so trust me, this has been just as exciting for us to be able to get in that energy again. It feels really good. It felt really right again. Our good brother. It's great the way he breaks things down. Visit his channel, everybody. Really check it out. He's got some fantastic stuff going on there, and you don't want to miss it. Again, his way of communicating it very pragmatically, in a real real reasonable way of thinking, I think is really refreshing
And
mentally healthy.
bite-sized pieces too.
Yeah, that's right. He does. Yeah, in bite-sized pieces. So, brother, thanks again for hanging out with us. I appreciate you showing up today, and much love to you. Thanks everybody for spending time with us, and we wish you all the love in the world, all the prosperity in the world, and we'll be seeing you next time.
And together, along with Mr. Trumptastic, we are turning the universal key to global harmony and creating a unified world. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, tune in often, hit the like button and share. And most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Many blessings. Much love.
That was nice.